Hello and welcome to another short drawing lesson. This week we're going to do Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. So the first thing we'll do is a front wheel over this side. And the next wheel is 1, 2, 3 wheels further back, so a really long car this. And draw another wheel. Next we need the chassis, which sits just slightly higher than the centres of the wheels. A pair of lines there. And the hardest part now is probably the mud guard that goes over the front of the front wheel and then drops down to meet these lines back there. A bit tricky that. The rear one's slightly easier. It just sort of follows the wheel around and then pokes out just up there. So next we've got the radiator, which is level with the centre of the front wheel. Pair of parallel lines with a slight curve just to show that the front of the car's got a curve in it. And the back edge of the bonnet, if you come to that one wheel mark and add another bit, maybe a third of the wheel, 1 1/3, a vertical line there, that's the back edge of the engine cover. The top of the bonnet is got a slight slope, so not horizontal like those, a slight angle to it. At that point it goes a bit steeper still before dropping down vertically and making a sort of cutout shape. The rear of the car is like a boat, and that's sort of level with your top of the radiator, a horizontal line coming out there, which returns with a slight curve sort of pointing towards your centre of your back wheel there. While we're at the back there, we can add a kind of picnic hamper basket sticking out the back, a box. And we'll do the bottom edge of the engine sticking out down there. So we've got a complete car silhouette. Now we can start making it look nice and a bit more three-dimensional hopefully. So let's put some details in. We've got some enormous brass lamps sticking out the front here. And a radiator filler cap. The bonnet itself is divided up into kind of panels. So a little V-shaped detail there. In this bottom panel is where the exhaust comes out. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 exhausts that need to come out in sort of parallel tubes, slightly sloping ones. And they will then run into a single tube, which runs into a silencer and continues back. Something like that. Between those exhaust pipes is a belt holding the bonnet down, and in this section there are some small vents. In this part here, this is where the car sort of changes from metal at the front to wood at the back. So we've got a diagonal line to put in there. So everything from here back is wood, and if you've got a way of drawing a thinner line, where the fountain pen, you can sometimes hold your fountain pen upside down, or draw more quickly, or press more lightly, whatever you can do. Try to just gently put in those planks. And you can even do the little rows of rivets holding them in, holding the whole thing together. You just don't want to do them too firmly, otherwise they will distract from the rest of the car. In this section there's also a rear door with a handle, some hinges. And in this sill section are some boxes. I don't know what they're for, but maybe they're something to do with the wing or something that comes out of there. Oh, forgot the steering wheel, pokes out here. And in this section here we've got even more lamps, some bit smaller than the front ones, and a windscreen. Starting to look a bit more like the car now, isn't it? We can add a bit of depth to this by showing the wheels on the far side of the car and adding some shading. So those should be darker because they're underneath the car. And the same with the underneath of this mudguard wheel arch. All of that would be in shadow. So you can firm up any of those underneath lines to make them a little bit darker. Scratchy scratch. And as it's Chitty Bang Bang, it should have a bit of energy and life to it, shouldn't it? So I think we'll do it moving, which means we'll do some dust coming off the wheels, a shadow but not touching the car so that it looks like the car's actually in the ground slightly. Little bits of dust and stones flying around. Maybe a couple of whiz lines, not too many because it looks a bit crazy if you could put them everywhere. A few more scuffs and things just generally around the car, give it some character. And it's going to need a driver or pilot. Is it a driver or a pilot or both in Chitty Bang Bang? So I find these sometimes are easier to do starting with the arm, because once you've got the arm you can imagine where the body would be, and once you've got that you can imagine where the leg would be. Kind of just keep adding onto that arm. It's not easy though. And when you come to the head, just make sure you sit it quite far forward. A lot of time, quite often people put their head too far back on their shoulders and it looks weird. People tend to have their head forward a little bit. So it's all a bit tiny. There we are, that'll do for a driver. And one last flourish whiz line. Some water coming out the radiator cap. And that's pretty much the car done, I think. Hope you enjoyed doing that one. It's always nice to do a vintage car, I think. Let me know in the comments if there's a car you'd like me to try next, and I'll try and get round to it. I've got a few on the list to get round to doing, but I'm doing my best to get through them all. Otherwise, have a good week, and I'll see you for another one soon.